It was a sweltering afternoon in downtown Atlanta, where the sun blazed overhead, casting long shadows on the bustling streets below. The city was alive with the sounds of honking cars, chattering pedestrians, and street vendors calling out to passers-by. Among them was Marcus Johnson, a 35-year-old man who had fallen on hard times. Dressed in tattered clothes that had seen better days, he navigated through the crowd with a weary but determined stride. Marcus had once been a successful mechanic, known for his skill and dedication. He had built a life for himself, but a series of unfortunate events, an unexpected layoff, mounting bills, and a health scare, had led him to lose everything he had worked so hard to achieve. Now homeless, he relied on the kindness of strangers and occasional odd jobs to get by. On this particular day, Marcus found himself wandering near a popular diner known as the Southern Comfort. It was a bustling establishment, famous for its hearty meals and welcoming atmosphere. As he approached the diner's entrance, he could smell the delicious aroma of fried chicken and collard greens wafting through the air. His stomach growled in response. It had been days since he had enjoyed a proper meal. A moment of hope. With his heart racing at the thought of food, Marcus hesitated outside the diner. He knew he didn't look presentable, his clothes were dirty and worn, and his unkempt hair hung loosely around his face. But hunger drove him forward. He pushed open the door and stepped inside. The diner was filled with patrons enjoying their meals, laughter echoing off the walls decorated with vintage memorabilia. As Marcus entered, heads turned. Some patrons glanced at him with curiosity, others exchanged whispers. The atmosphere shifted slightly as he made his way to the counter. "Can I help you?" asked Sarah, the waitress behind the counter, her tone polite but tinged with apprehension as she eyed his appearance. "Just looking for something to eat," Marcus replied softly, trying to mask his embarrassment. "I don't have much money, but I can pay something." Before Sarah could respond, two police officers seated at a booth near the window caught wind of the conversation. Officer Davis and Officer Thompson were known in the area for their strict enforcement of local laws, but also for their tendency to joke around with each other during their breaks. The encounter begins. "Hey, what do we have here?" Officer Davis called out loudly enough for everyone in the diner to hear. "Looks like someone's trying to score a free meal." Laughter erupted from their booth as other patrons joined in on the mockery. Marcus felt his face flush with humiliation as he stood there, exposed under their scrutiny. The laughter echoed in his ears like a cruel reminder of how far he had fallen from grace. "Come on now," Officer Thompson added with a smirk. "You can't just waltz in here looking like that and expect to get fed. What's next? You gonna ask us to buy you dessert?" The laughter continued as Marcus's heart sank deeper into despair. He glanced around at the other diners. Some looked uncomfortable, while others chuckled along with the officers. In that moment, he felt completely dehumanized, reduced to nothing more than a punchline. A moment of reflection. As Marcus stood there, fighting back tears of frustration and anger, memories flooded his mind. Memories of better days when he had friends who would have stood up for him or family who would have offered support. He remembered how he used to help others in need when he was doing well, buying meals for those less fortunate or volunteering at local shelters. But now he was on the receiving end of ridicule from those meant to protect and serve. The weight of his circumstances pressed heavily on him as he took a deep breath, trying to regain his composure. "I'm just trying to get something to eat," Marcus finally managed to say, his voice trembling slightly. "I'm not looking for trouble." The turning point. At that moment, Sarah stepped forward from behind the counter, her expression shifting from apprehension to empathy. "I'll get you something warm," she said softly, her voice cutting through the tension in the air. Marcus looked at her gratefully. Her kindness felt like a beacon of hope amidst the ridicule surrounding him. As she turned away to prepare a plate of food for him, Officer Davis shot her an incredulous look. "Are you serious?" he scoffed. "You're really going to feed him? What's next? You'll be giving him your tips, too?" Sarah ignored him as she busied herself in the kitchen area, while Marcus stood quietly at the counter, feeling both grateful and humiliated at being treated like charity. In that moment of vulnerability, standing there amid laughter directed at him, Marcus made an unexpected decision that would change everything. A decision made. As Sarah returned with a steaming plate of fried chicken and collard greens, a generous portion that filled Marcus's heart with gratitude, he felt an overwhelming surge of determination rise within him. He took a moment to savor the food before speaking again. This time, it was not about asking for help, but about reclaiming his dignity. "You know what?" Marcus said aloud, surprising even himself with his newfound confidence. "I'm not just some guy in dirty clothes looking for handouts." The laughter subsided as curious eyes turned toward him once more. "I may not have much right now," Marcus continued, standing taller as he spoke directly to Officer Davis and Officer Thompson, "but I'm going to show you all what I'm capable of." With that declaration hanging in the air like an electric charge, he reached into his pocket and pulled out what little money he had left, a crumpled bill that barely covered half of what Sarah had given him. "I'd like to buy everyone here lunch," he announced boldly. Shockwaves through the diner. Gasps filled the diner as patrons exchanged bewildered glances. Laughter turned into murmurs of disbelief. Officer Davis raised an eyebrow skeptically, while Officer Thompson looked genuinely surprised. "What are you talking about?" Officer Davis asked incredulously. "You can't be serious." "I am serious," Marcus replied firmly, feeling empowered by his own words. "I may not have much right now, but I want everyone here to know that I refuse to be defined by my circumstances." In that moment, a shift occurred within both Marcus and those present in the Southern Comfort Diner, a realization that sometimes it takes one person's courage amidst adversity to inspire change within an entire community. A moment of humiliation, the atmosphere shifts. As Marcus stood at the counter, the initial shock of his declaration hung in the air. The laughter that had echoed moments before faded into an uneasy silence. Patrons exchanged glances, some bewildered, others intrigued by this unexpected turn of events. Marcus could feel their eyes on him, some filled with skepticism, others with a flicker of respect. Officer Davis leaned back in his seat, arms crossed, a smirk still plastered on his face. "You really think you can just buy everyone lunch? With what money?" he scoffed, attempting to regain control of the narrative. "I may not have much," Marcus replied, his voice steady despite the humiliation he felt. "But I'm tired of being treated like I'm invisible or a joke. I want to show that even in tough times, we can lift each other up. A defiant stand." The words resonated within him as he spoke. Marcus felt a surge of defiance rising against the mockery he had endured. He remembered all those moments when he had helped others, how good it felt to give rather than receive. In that instant, he decided that he would reclaim his dignity and show everyone that kindness could come from unexpected places. "I'll pay for everyone's meal," he reiterated, pulling out the crumpled bill from his pocket again. "I may not have much, but I want to share what I can." The diner fell silent as Sarah returned with a plate of food, her eyes wide with surprise at Marcus's declaration. "Are you sure?" she asked softly, sensing the gravity of the moment. "Absolutely," Marcus affirmed, feeling a newfound strength coursing through him. "Let's make this a meal to remember." The police response officer Thompson exchanged a glance with Officer Davis, who seemed taken aback by Marcus's determination. "You're serious about this?" Officer Thompson asked, his tone shifting slightly from mockery to curiosity. "Dead serious," Marcus replied firmly. Doubt lingered in Officer Davis's expression as he leaned forward in his seat. "All right then," he said slowly. "If you're really going to buy everyone lunch, let's see how far your generosity goes." His tone was challenging but also tinged with an unexpected respect for Marcus's resolve. Marcus felt a rush of adrenaline as he turned to face the other diners. "Who's with me?" he called out, his voice gaining strength. The first supporters. A few patrons nodded hesitantly at first. Then one man, a middle-aged gentleman wearing a baseball cap, stood up and clapped slowly. "I'll take you up on that offer," he declared, breaking the tension in the room. Encouraged by this show of support, others began to join in. A young woman sitting at a nearby table smiled and raised her hand. "Count me in, too," she said enthusiastically. Soon enough, murmurs spread through the diner as more people expressed their willingness to accept Marcus's offer. The atmosphere shifted from one of ridicule to camaraderie, a collective realization that they were witnessing something special unfold before their eyes. A change of heart. Even Officer Davis seemed caught off guard by the growing support for Marcus. He leaned back in his chair and crossed his arms again, but this time without the earlier smugness. Officer Thompson observed quietly, intrigued by how quickly the dynamics had changed. "All right, then," Officer Thompson said finally, breaking into a smile. "Let's see what this man can do." He gestured towards Sarah behind the counter. "How about we get everyone's orders?" Marcus felt an overwhelming sense of relief wash over him as Sarah began taking orders from patrons who were now eager to participate in this unexpected act of kindness. He could hardly believe how quickly things had turned around. What started as an embarrassing moment had transformed into an opportunity for connection and community. The meal preparation. As Sarah moved swiftly behind the counter preparing food orders, Marcus took a moment to breathe deeply and absorb what was happening around him. The laughter and mockery had been replaced by chatter and excitement as patrons discussed their favorite dishes while placing their orders. "Fried chicken for me," shouted one woman excitedly. "I'll take a burger," called another. Marcus couldn't help but smile at how quickly everyone had rallied together. It was as if they were all part of something bigger now, a movement fueled by shared humanity rather than judgment or scorn. A moment of reflection. As orders were taken and food began to come out of the kitchen, Marcus reflected on how far he had come since those dark days when life had seemed hopeless. He thought about his struggles, how easy it would have been to succumb to despair or anger after losing everything he once held dear. But here he was, standing tall amidst strangers who were no longer strangers, but allies united by kindness and compassion. This moment reminded him that even in adversity, there is always room for hope and connection. The meal begins. When all the meals were finally prepared and served, Sarah called out for everyone to gather around a large table set up in the corner of the diner, a communal space where they could enjoy their food together. "Let's eat," she announced cheerfully, as plates filled with fried chicken, burgers, collard greens, and sweet tea were placed on the table. Marcus took his seat among them, his heart swelling with gratitude as laughter filled the air once more, not directed at him, but shared among friends celebrating an unexpected feast born from resilience and generosity. A toast to humanity. After everyone settled down with their meals before them, Marcus stood up once more to address the group gathered around him. "Thank you all for joining me today," he began sincerely. "I know I may not have much right now, but today is about more than just food. It's about reminding ourselves that we are all human beings deserving respect." He raised his glass of sweet tea high above his head, a gesture that caught everyone's attention, and continued passionately. "Let's toast not just to this meal, but also to kindness, to lifting each other up instead of tearing each other down." The diners raised their glasses in unison, some laughing while others cheered enthusiastically and echoed back, "To kindness." An unexpected ally. As they began eating together, the atmosphere transformed into one filled with warmth and camaraderie. Conversations flowed freely between tables, where previously there had been silence or judgment. Officer Thompson watched from his booth, his expression shifting from skepticism toward admiration as he observed how quickly Marcus had turned an awkward situation into something beautiful, a reminder that humanity could shine even in unexpected places. "Looks like you've got quite a crowd here," Officer Davis remarked quietly beside him, while taking note of how engaged everyone was in conversation now, rather than laughing at someone else's expense. "Yeah," Officer Thompson replied thoughtfully, while observing Marcus animatedly chatting with diners around him. "It's amazing what happens when people come together." A new perspective. As they finished their meals, the atmosphere remained lively, filled with laughter stories shared between newfound friends. It became clear that this day would leave an indelible mark, not only on Marcus, but also on those who had witnessed it unfold before them. In that diner filled with warmth camaraderie, a powerful lesson emerged. Sometimes all it takes is one person willing to stand up against adversity, inspire others find strength within themselves too. As patrons began finishing their meals, Marcus felt lighter than ever before. Perhaps today marked not just another day struggling through life, but rather an opportunity for transformation, a chance for healing, amidst shared experiences built upon kindness, compassion. A shift in atmosphere. As the laughter and chatter filled the Southern Comfort Diner, Marcus felt a wave of warmth wash over him. The initial embarrassment he had experienced was fading, replaced by a sense of purpose and determination. He looked around at the smiling faces of the patrons who were now enjoying their meals together. It was a stark contrast to the ridicule he had faced just moments before. Who would have thought, he mused to himself, that a simple act of kindness could turn this day around? The thought energized him further. He realized that he had the power to change not only his own narrative, but also to inspire others to see beyond appearances and circumstances. The police officers' reactions, Officer Davis and Officer Thompson, exchanged glances as they observed the transformation taking place in the diner. What had started as a moment of mockery was now evolving into something much more profound. They watched as Marcus engaged with patrons, sharing stories and laughter over plates of food. "What do you think?" Officer Thompson asked, a hint of admiration creeping into his voice. This guy really turned things around. Officer Davis shrugged, still trying to maintain his tough demeanor. "Yeah, but let's see how long it lasts. People can be fickle." But even he couldn't deny that there was something special happening. The atmosphere was charged with positivity, and for the first time that day, he felt a twinge of respect for Marcus's boldness, a moment of connection. As Marcus moved from table to table, he found himself in conversation with a group of young adults who were intrigued by his story. They asked him questions about his life, how he ended up in such difficult circumstances, and what it felt like to stand up against ridicule. "I used to be a mechanic," Marcus explained, his voice steady as he shared snippets of his past. "I had a good job, a home, and dreams for the future. But life has a way of throwing curveballs at you." He paused, looking around at their attentive faces. "What I've learned is that it's not about how many times you fall. It's about how many times you get back up." His words resonated deeply with them. They nodded in understanding as they shared their own struggles, balancing school, work, and personal challenges. An unexpected ally. Amidst this newfound camaraderie, Sarah, the waitress who had initially served Marcus, approached him with a smile. "You know," she said softly, "I've worked here for years, and I've never seen anything like this." Marcus smiled back at her. "Neither have I," he admitted. "It's incredible how quickly people can come together when given the chance." Sarah leaned in closer, her expression earnest. "I want you to know that I admire what you're doing here today. It takes a lot of courage to stand up like this." "Thank you," Marcus replied sincerely. "I just wanted to show that even in tough times, we can lift each other up instead of tearing each other down." The meal continues. As they continued eating and sharing stories, Officer Thompson decided to join in on the conversation from his booth. He stood up and walked over to where Marcus was seated with the group. "Mind if I sit?" he asked casually. Marcus looked surprised, but nodded. "Sure. The more the merrier." Officer Thompson took a seat at the table, and there was an initial awkwardness as everyone adjusted to having an officer among them, especially one who had laughed at Marcus just moments earlier. "I have to say," Officer Thompson began, breaking the ice with a light chuckle, "I didn't expect to see this kind of gathering today." He gestured around at the lively atmosphere filled with laughter and chatter. "Neither did we," one young woman exclaimed playfully. "But it seems like kindness is contagious." Building bridges. The conversation flowed easily as they discussed everything from local events to personal aspirations. Officer Thompson shared stories from his time on the force, anecdotes that showcased both the challenges and rewards of police work. "I've seen some tough situations out there," he admitted candidly. "But moments like this remind me why I joined the force in the first place, to serve my community." Marcus appreciated his honesty and felt that perhaps there was more common ground than he initially thought between them. "Sometimes it feels like there's a divide between us," Marcus said thoughtfully. "But it doesn't have to be that way. We're all human beings trying to navigate life's challenges." Officer Thompson nodded in agreement. "You're right about that. We need more conversations like this, more opportunities for understanding. A toast to unity." As plates began to empty and conversations continued buzzing throughout the diner, Marcus stood up once again, feeling inspired by the connections being forged around him. "Can I have everyone's attention for just a moment?" he called out. The chatter quieted down as patrons turned their attention toward him once more. "Just want to say thank you," he began sincerely. "Thank you for joining me today. Not just for lunch, but for reminding me that kindness exists even when things seem tough." He raised his glass of sweet tea high above his head once more, a gesture that had become symbolic throughout this meal, and continued, "Let's toast not only to this meal but also to unity, to understanding one another despite our differences." The diners raised their glasses enthusiastically in response, echoing back to unity. A lasting impression. As they clinked glasses together, the sense of camaraderie solidified further, a reminder that sometimes it takes one person willing to stand up against adversity, inspire others find strength within themselves too. In those moments filled with laughter, joy shared between strangers, a powerful lesson emerged. Kindness has no boundaries. It transcends appearances, circumstances. As they finished their meals, the atmosphere remained lively, filled with stories shared among newfound friends. It became clear that this day would leave an indelible mark, not only on Marcus, but also on those who had witnessed it unfold before them. Reflections on humanity. After everyone completed their meals, patrons began exchanging contact information while promising to stay connected beyond this day, a testament not just toward shared experiences, but rather toward friendships forged amidst adversity. Marcus felt lighter than ever before. Perhaps today marked not just another day struggling through life, but rather an opportunity for transformation, a chance for healing amidst shared experiences built upon kindness, compassion. As people began leaving, the diner filled with warm farewells exchanged between those who had come together unexpectedly. Marcus couldn't help but smile at how quickly things had turned around since entering earlier, feeling humiliated alone. This moment would forever be etched into his memory, a reminder that even amidst darkness, light can shine through when people come together united under common goals, striving toward equity, justice. The moment of truth. As the laughter and chatter filled the Southern Comfort diner, Marcus felt a surge of adrenaline coursing through him. He had just declared his intention to buy lunch for everyone, and he could feel the weight of that decision hanging in the air. This was not just about food. It was about dignity, respect, and reclaiming his narrative. He glanced around at the faces of the patrons. Some looked surprised, others skeptical, but many were intrigued. The police officers who had initially laughed at him now seemed caught off guard by his boldness. Officer Davis leaned back in his seat, arms crossed, while Officer Thompson observed with a mix of curiosity and admiration. "All right, then," Officer Davis said with a hint of sarcasm. "Let's see if you can back up those words. What do you have in mind?" The challenge accepted. Marcus took a deep breath, feeling the eyes of everyone in the diner on him. "I want to buy lunch for everyone here today," he reiterated, his voice steady. "Let's turn this moment into something positive." The room fell silent for a moment as patrons processed what he had just said. Then, slowly but surely, murmurs began to ripple through the crowd. Some people exchanged glances, unsure if they had heard correctly. Others leaned in closer, eager to see how this would unfold. "Are you serious?" one woman asked incredulously from a nearby table. "Dead serious," Marcus replied firmly. "I may not have much right now, but I want to share what I can." A collective reaction. The atmosphere shifted as people began to respond to Marcus's declaration. A young man sitting at the counter raised his hand tentatively. "I'll take you up on that offer," he said with a smile. Encouraged by this show of support, more patrons started chiming in. "Count me in, too," shouted an older gentleman with a hearty laugh. As more people expressed their willingness to participate, laughter and excitement began to fill the diner once again, this time directed toward unity rather than mockery. "Looks like you've got yourself a crowd," Officer Thompson remarked with a grin as he observed the growing enthusiasm among diners. Sarah joins. In Sarah, the waitress who had initially served Marcus, stepped forward from behind the counter with wide eyes. "You really want to buy lunch for everyone?" she asked incredulously, but also with a hint of admiration. "Absolutely," Marcus affirmed, feeling empowered by the support around him. "Let's make this a meal to remember." Sarah nodded slowly, her expression shifting from surprise to determination. "All right, then. I'll start taking orders," she announced cheerfully as she moved back toward the kitchen. The orders begin. As Sarah began taking orders from patrons who were now eager to participate in this unexpected act of kindness, Marcus felt a sense of camaraderie building among them all. He watched as people shared their favorite dishes, fried chicken, burgers, collard greens, and how quickly conversations flowed between tables that had previously been filled with judgment or indifference. "Have the fried chicken," shouted one woman excitedly. "Make mine a double cheeseburger," called another man with enthusiasm. The atmosphere transformed into one of joy and connection as laughter erupted once more, this time not at someone else's expense, but rather in celebration of shared humanity. Building bridges. As orders were taken and food began coming out of the kitchen, Officer Thompson decided to join in on the conversation from his booth. He stood up and walked over to where Marcus was seated with the group. "Mind if I sit?" he asked casually. Marcus looked surprised but nodded enthusiastically. "Sure. The more, the merrier." Officer Thompson took a seat at the table beside Marcus, his presence initially causing some apprehension among patrons who were unsure how to react, given his earlier role in mocking Marcus. But as he settled in and joined their conversation, the tension began to dissipate. "I have to say," Officer Thompson began with a light chuckle, "I didn't expect to see this kind of gathering today." He gestured around at the lively atmosphere filled with laughter and chatter. "Neither did we," one young woman exclaimed playfully. "But it seems like kindness is contagious." A moment of connection. The conversation flowed easily as they discussed everything from local events to personal aspirations. Officer Thompson shared stories from his time on the force, anecdotes that showcased both challenges and rewards of police work. "I've seen some tough situations out there," he admitted candidly, "but moments like this remind me why I joined the force in the first place, to serve my community." Marcus appreciated his honesty and felt that perhaps there was more common ground than he initially thought between them. Sometimes it feels like there's a divide between us, Marcus said thoughtfully. But it doesn't have to be that way. We're all human beings trying to navigate life's challenges. Officer Thompson nodded in agreement. You're right about that. We need more conversations like this, more opportunities for understanding. The meal arrives. As plates began arriving from Sarah, the delicious aroma wafting through the air made everyone's mouths water. The excitement reached a fever pitch. Here we go, Sarah announced cheerfully as she placed down steaming plates filled with fried chicken, burgers piled high with toppings, and generous servings of collard greens on each table. Marcus felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude wash over him as he looked at all the food being served, not just because it was delicious, but because it represented something much larger, a community coming together despite differences. A toast to unity. After everyone settled down with their meals before them, Marcus stood up once again, feeling inspired by connections being forged around him. "Can I have everyone's attention for just a moment?" he called out. The chatter quieted down as patrons turned their attention toward him once more. "I just want to say thank you," he began sincerely. "Thank you for joining me today. Not just for lunch, but for reminding me that kindness exists even when things seem tough." He raised his glass of sweet tea high above his head, a gesture that had become symbolic throughout this meal, and continued, "Let's toast not only to this meal, but also to unity, to understanding one another despite our differences." The diners raised their glasses enthusiastically in response, echoing back, "To unity." A lasting impression. As they clinked glasses together, the sense of camaraderie solidified further, a reminder that sometimes all it takes is one person willing to stand up against adversity, inspire others find strength within themselves too. In those moments filled with laughter, joy shared between strangers, a powerful lesson emerged. Kindness has no boundaries. It transcends appearances, circumstances. As they finished their meals, the atmosphere remained lively, filled with stories shared among newfound friends. It became clear that this day would leave an indelible mark not only on Marcus, but also on those who had witnessed it unfold before them. Reflections on humanity. After everyone completed their meals, patrons began exchanging contact information while promising to stay connected beyond this day, a testament not just toward shared experiences, but rather toward friendships forged amidst adversity. Marcus felt lighter than ever before. Perhaps today marked not just another day struggling through life, but rather an opportunity for transformation, a chance for healing amidst shared experiences built upon kindness, compassion. As people began leaving, the diner filled with warm farewells exchanged between those who had come together unexpectedly, Marcus couldn't help but smile at how quickly things had turned around since entering earlier feeling humiliated alone. This moment would forever be etched into his memory, a reminder that even amidst darkness, light can shine through when people come together, united under common goals striving toward equity, justice. The aftermath of the meal. As the last plates were cleared and patrons began to leave the Southern Comfort Diner, a sense of camaraderie lingered in the air. The laughter and conversations that had filled the space were replaced by warm farewells and promises to stay in touch. Marcus felt a profound sense of accomplishment. What had started as a moment of humiliation had transformed into a celebration of community spirit. Outside the diner, a small crowd had gathered, drawn by the buzz of excitement inside. Word had spread quickly about the unexpected gathering and Marcus's generous gesture. People exchanged stories about how they had witnessed something special unfold, a moment where kindness triumphed over judgment. Social media buzz. In today's digital age, news travels fast. As patrons left the diner, many pulled out their phones to share their experiences on social media. Hashtags like kindness in action and community unity began trending as people posted photos and videos from the day. One young woman shared a video clip of Marcus raising his glass for a toast, captioning it, Today I witnessed true generosity. This man bought lunch for everyone in the diner. Inspiration, unity. Another post featured a photo of Officer Thompson sitting at the table with Marcus, smiling and engaged in conversation. It read, "When police officers join in on kindness instead of judgment, we all win. Change is possible." The post quickly gained traction, drawing attention from local news outlets eager to cover this uplifting story. Journalists began reaching out to those who had been present at the diner, asking for interviews and insights into what had transpired. Media coverage. The following day, local news stations aired segments highlighting Marcus's story. Reporters interviewed patrons who had been at the Southern Comfort Diner during the event, capturing their reactions and reflections. "I never thought I'd see something like this," said an elderly man who had shared a table with Marcus. "It was incredible to witness how one person's kindness could bring everyone together." The news coverage emphasized not just Marcus's act of generosity, but also the broader implications for community relations, especially between marginalized individuals and law enforcement. The narrative shifted from one of ridicule to one of hope and possibility. A new perspective, Officer Thompson found himself in front of cameras as well, discussing his experience that day. "I've been on the force for years," he stated during an interview. "But this was a reminder that we need to engage with our community in meaningful ways. We're all human beings trying to make our way through life." His words resonated with viewers who recognized that police officers are not just enforcers of the law, but also members of the community who can contribute positively to its fabric. Community support. As news spread beyond local boundaries, support for Marcus grew. People began reaching out to him through social media, expressing admiration for his courage and kindness. Local businesses offered him job opportunities or assistance in getting back on his feet. One small business owner even reached out with an offer. "If you're looking for work, I'd love to have you help out at my shop. Your spirit is exactly what we need." Marcus felt overwhelmed by this outpouring of support. It was more than he could have ever imagined after such a difficult period in his life. He realized that his decision to buy lunch for everyone had not only changed perceptions about him, but also sparked conversations about compassion within their community. A community gathering inspired by Marcus's actions, community leaders organized a gathering at a local park to celebrate unity and kindness. They invited residents from all backgrounds to come together for an afternoon filled with food, music, and storytelling, a chance for people to connect beyond their differences. Flyers were distributed throughout neighborhoods announcing the event. "Join us for an afternoon celebrating kindness. Let's come together as a community." When the day arrived, families gathered under colorful tents adorned with banners promoting love and unity. Food trucks lined the park's perimeter, offering delicious meals while musicians played uplifting tunes that filled the air with joy. Sharing stories. At one point during the gathering, organizers invited attendees to share their stories, moments when they had experienced kindness or when they had chosen to extend kindness toward others. A young girl named Lily stood up nervously, but confidently shared her experience. "Last week at school, I saw someone sitting alone at lunch. I invited them to join me because I remembered how lonely it felt when I first started there." Her story resonated deeply with many present. It reminded everyone how small acts could create ripples of change within their communities. Marcus listened intently as others shared similar experiences, stories that echoed his own journey toward reclaiming dignity through acts of generosity amidst adversity. Reflection on change. As he reflected on how far he had come since that fateful day at the Southern Comfort Diner, Marcus felt grateful, not only for newfound friendships, but also for opportunities arising from unexpected moments like these. He realized that change often starts small. One act of kindness can inspire others while creating waves throughout entire communities. During this gathering filled with laughter, joy shared between strangers, Marcus took a moment to express his gratitude publicly. "Thank you all for being here today. It means so much knowing we can come together despite our differences." The crowd erupted into applause, a collective acknowledgement that kindness indeed has no boundaries. A lasting impact. As dusk settled over the park, the gathering continued late into the evening. People dancing under twinkling lights while sharing food stories, laughter alike. Marcus felt lighter than ever before. Perhaps today marked not just another day struggling through life, but rather an opportunity for transformation, a chance for healing amidst shared experiences built upon kindness, compassion. In those moments filled with connection, warmth, camaraderie, a powerful lesson emerged. Sometimes it takes one person willing to stand up against adversity. Inspire others find strength within themselves, too. As they wrapped up festivities, many exchanged contact information promising stay connected beyond this day, a testament not just toward shared experiences, but rather friendships forged amidst adversity, moving forward together. With newfound connections forged during this gathering, Marcus felt hopeful about what lay ahead. He knew there would still be challenges, but now he also understood that he wasn't alone in facing them. Inspired by those around him, he vowed to continue spreading kindness wherever possible while advocating for understanding, compassion within their community. As people began leaving, the park filled with warm farewells exchanged between those who had come together unexpectedly, Marcus couldn't help but smile at how quickly things had turned around since entering earlier feeling humiliated alone. This moment would forever be etched into his memory, a reminder that even amidst darkness, light can shine through when people come together united under common goals, striving toward equity, justice. The broader conversation. In the days following the community gathering at the park, the story of Marcus Johnson continued to resonate throughout the city. Local news outlets covered not only his act of kindness, but also the conversations it sparked about race, dignity, and community relations. The narrative shifted from one of individual struggle to a collective call for change. As Marcus watched the news reports and read articles highlighting his story, he felt a mixture of pride and responsibility. He realized that his simple act of buying lunch for everyone had become a catalyst for discussions about deeper societal issues that needed to be addressed openly and honestly. Conversations about race one evening, Marcus was invited to participate in a panel discussion hosted by a local community organization focused on racial equity. The event aimed to bring together diverse voices to discuss experiences with race and how communities could work together to foster understanding. Sitting on the panel alongside community leaders, educators, and activists, Marcus felt both nervous and honored. As he listened to others share their stories, he recognized that many had faced similar challenges. Judgment based on appearance, assumptions made without understanding context, and the struggle for dignity in everyday life. When it was his turn to speak, Marcus took a deep breath. "I never thought my story would resonate with so many people," he began. "But what happened at the Southern Comfort Diner showed me that kindness can break down barriers. We need more moments like that, moments where we see each other as human beings first." Acknowledging systemic issues. As the discussion progressed, participants delved into systemic issues that perpetuated inequality within their communities. They talked about racial profiling, economic disparities, and the importance of creating safe spaces for open dialogue. One panelist, a local educator, shared her experiences working in schools with predominantly minority students. "Our children face challenges every day that many adults don't even realize," she said passionately. "They carry the weight of expectations based on their race or background. It's crucial that we empower them to rise above those limitations." Marcus nodded in agreement. "It's about changing narratives," he added. "We need to teach our children that they are not defined by their circumstances, but by their character and actions." Inspiring change in law enforcement. The conversation also turned toward law enforcement and its role in building trust within communities. Officer Thompson attended the panel as well, representing the police department's commitment to reform. "I've seen firsthand how important it is for officers to engage with the communities they serve," he said during his turn to speak. "We need to move beyond just enforcing laws. We need to be part of these communities, understanding their struggles and celebrating their successes." His words sparked discussions about implementing community policing initiatives, programs designed to foster relationships between officers and residents through regular engagement rather than just enforcement. Community initiatives. Inspired by these conversations, community leaders began brainstorming initiatives aimed at promoting understanding and connection among residents. They proposed organizing regular community forums where people could come together to share their experiences and discuss ways to address local issues collaboratively. Marcus volunteered to help coordinate these events, eager to contribute positively to his community. He envisioned gatherings where people could not only share their stories, but also participate in workshops focused on conflict resolution, empathy-building exercises, and discussions about systemic inequality. A call for empathy. As plans for these initiatives took shape, Marcus emphasized the importance of empathy as a guiding principle. "We need to create spaces where people feel safe sharing their experiences," he said during one planning meeting. "Empathy allows us to connect with others on a deeper level. It helps us understand perspectives different from our own." The group agreed that fostering empathy would be crucial in breaking down barriers and building trust within their diverse community. The impact of social media. Meanwhile, social media continued to amplify Marcus's story beyond local boundaries. Influencers and activists across the country shared his journey, highlighting not only his act of kindness, but also encouraging others to engage in similar acts within their own communities. "Let's make kindness contagious," one popular influencer posted, along with clips from Marcus's original toast at the Southern Comfort Diner. The message resonated widely, inspiring individuals across various cities to organize similar gatherings focused on unity and compassion. A national movement. As these conversations gained traction online, what started as a local story began evolving into a national movement advocating for kindness as a response to adversity. People began sharing their own stories of overcoming challenges through acts of generosity or solidarity, creating a ripple effect that transcended geographical boundaries. Marcus felt humbled by this unexpected attention. He never intended for his actions to spark such widespread change, but he recognized now that every small act counts toward building a better world. Reflecting on personal growth. In addition to inspiring change within his community, Marcus found himself reflecting deeply on his personal growth throughout this journey. He had transformed from feeling marginalized into someone who actively contributed toward fostering understanding among diverse groups. "I've learned so much about resilience," he shared during another panel discussion focused on personal empowerment. "It's not just about bouncing back. It's about rising up stronger than before while lifting others along the way." His words resonated with attendees who saw parallels between their own struggles and Marcus's journey, a reminder that they too could find strength amidst adversity through acts of kindness. A vision for the future. As plans for upcoming community events solidified, Marcus envisioned a future where empathy became central not only within his neighborhood, but also across society at large. He dreamed of creating spaces where individuals felt valued, respected, regardless of background or circumstance, a world built upon shared humanity rather than division. In meetings filled with hope, determination, the group discussed ways they could continue amplifying messages centered around compassion, unity, while encouraging others join them in this movement. "We have an opportunity here," Marcus stated passionately during one brainstorming session filled with excitement. "Let's make sure our voices are heard loud, clear. We can create lasting change together." Moving forward. Together with each passing day, the momentum behind these initiatives grew stronger as more individuals joined forces, rallying around shared goals, striving toward equity justice. As plans unfolded, the community began organizing events aimed at promoting understanding connection among residents from all walks of life, from cultural festivals celebrating diversity through workshops focused on building bridges between different groups. Marcus felt invigorated by this newfound energy surrounding him. Perhaps today marked not just another day struggling through life, but rather an opportunity for transformation, a chance for healing amidst shared experiences built upon kindness, compassion. A new chapter for Marcus. As the weeks turned into months following the community gathering, Marcus Johnson found himself at the center of a movement that continued to grow. What began as a simple act of kindness, buying lunch for everyone in the Southern Comfort Diner, had blossomed into something much larger. His story became a symbol of hope and resilience, inspiring countless individuals to engage in acts of kindness within their own communities. Marcus had also begun to rebuild his life. With the support of local businesses and community members who reached out to him after his story went viral, he found part-time work at a local auto repair shop. The owner, impressed by Marcus's previous experience as a mechanic, offered him a chance to get back on his feet. "Everyone deserves a second chance," he had said during their first meeting. Embracing opportunities. With this new job, Marcus felt a renewed sense of purpose. He was no longer just surviving. He was thriving. Each day at the shop brought back memories of his former life, working with his hands, solving problems, and connecting with customers. It reminded him of who he was before life's challenges had knocked him down. But even as he embraced this opportunity, Marcus remained committed to the cause that had emerged from his experience. He continued to participate in community events aimed at promoting kindness and understanding, often sharing his story with others who faced similar struggles. Building bridges. One initiative that gained traction was the establishment of a kindness committee within the community, a group dedicated to organizing events that fostered connection among residents from diverse backgrounds. They held regular meetings to brainstorm ideas for outreach programs, volunteer opportunities, and community-building activities. Marcus took on a leadership role within the committee, using his voice to advocate for those who felt marginalized or overlooked. He organized workshops that focused on empathy-building exercises, encouraging participants to step into each other's shoes and share their experiences openly. Understanding starts with listening, Marcus emphasized during one workshop. When we take the time to hear each other's stories, we begin to break down barriers. Expanding the movement. As word spread about the Kindness Committee's initiatives, neighboring communities began reaching out for guidance on how they could implement similar programs. Marcus found himself traveling to nearby towns to share his experiences and inspire others to take action. At one event in a neighboring city, he stood before an audience filled with eager listeners, community leaders, educators, and residents all gathered to learn how they could foster kindness within their own neighborhoods. "Change doesn't happen overnight," he told them passionately, "but every small act counts. It starts with us, each one of us taking responsibility for creating a culture of compassion." Media attention renewed. The media continued to follow Marcus's journey closely. Local news outlets featured him regularly, highlighting not only his personal growth, but also the positive changes occurring within the community as a result of his actions. One evening news segment showcased a large community event organized by the Kindness Committee, a festival celebrating diversity through food, music, and storytelling. The event drew hundreds of attendees from various backgrounds who came together to share their cultures and experiences. As cameras rolled capturing laughter, joy shared among families, Marcus felt proud, knowing that he had played a role in bringing people together in such meaningful ways. Reflections on change. During one interview reflecting on these developments, Marcus expressed gratitude for how far he had come since that fateful day at the Southern Comfort Diner. "I never imagined my story would resonate with so many people," he said thoughtfully. but it's shown me that kindness has power. It can change lives. He acknowledged how important it was for individuals facing adversity not only to find strength within themselves, but also seek support from others willing to stand alongside them during tough times. A lasting legacy. As time passed, the impact of Marcus's actions became evident throughout their community. Conversations about race understanding were no longer taboo topics, but rather integral parts, discussions held openly among residents. The Kindness Committee established annual events focused on celebrating unity while encouraging ongoing dialogue surrounding issues affecting marginalized groups, creating spaces where individuals felt safe sharing their experiences without feared judgment. Marcus realized that what started as an isolated incident had transformed into an enduring legacy, a reminder that even amidst darkness, light can shine through when people come together united under common goals, striving toward equity, justice, personal growth, and resilience. On a personal level, Marcus experienced profound growth throughout this journey. He learned not only about resilience, but also about the importance of vulnerability in leadership. He understood now that true strength lies not just in overcoming challenges, but also in being willing to share those experiences with others, to show them they are not alone. "I've learned so much about myself," he reflected during another workshop, aimed at empowering individuals facing adversity. "It's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to ask for help when you need it." His words resonated deeply with attendees who saw parallels between their own struggles and Marcus's journey, a reminder that they too could find strength amidst adversity through acts of kindness, solidarity. Looking ahead. As Marcus looked toward the future, he felt hopeful about what lay ahead. He knew there would still be challenges, but now he also understood that he wasn't alone in facing them. Inspired by those around him, he vowed to continue spreading kindness wherever possible while advocating for understanding compassion within their community. In meetings filled with determination, the group discussed ways they could continue amplifying messages centered around compassion, unity, while encouraging others join them in this movement. "We have an opportunity here," Marcus stated passionately during one brainstorming session filled with excitement. "Let's make sure our voices are heard loud, clear. We can create lasting change together." A community transformed. The transformation within their community was palpable. People began engaging more actively in local initiatives aimed at fostering connection, understanding among diverse groups. Marcus felt invigorated by this newfound energy surrounding him. Perhaps today marked not just another day struggling through life, but rather an opportunity for transformation, a chance for healing amidst shared experiences built upon kindness, compassion. As plans unfolded, the community began organizing events aimed at promoting understanding connection among residents from all walks of life, from cultural festivals celebrating diversity through workshops focused on building bridges between different groups. Marcus knew that this journey was far from over. There would always be work left undone, but he felt optimistic knowing they were moving forward together, united under shared goals, striving toward equity, justice.